Great, well thanks for being here.
That's gotta be one of the best hellos I've ever had, so thanks. Hey, can I get everybody to do me a favor? Can you guys pull out your phones real quick, pull them up high so I can see them? I know you guys all got one. iPhone, Android, got a bit of BlackBerry.
Oh, I see some interesting ones out there.
Can you guys do me a favor and take a photo of us right now? I just feel as Canadians, it sounds a little egotistical, but I've got a reason. I feel as Canadians, we gotta do a better job of telling stories, right? Telling people what we're doing, where we're at. So just take a photo real quick. I'm gonna do the same. Where is my panel? You guys are such a wide audience.
Look at that, you got the spinning chair too.
There we go, this is great. At Dan Martell on Twitter, obviously, at Startup Grind, at Motify, all the sponsors, tweet it out, share it. One of the things that I learned spending a lot of time in the Valley was that there's a lot of people documenting the stories about what's going on, and something I don't think people realize that is such a big part of the culture, and we just got to do a better job in Canada. So. And I want your divided attention, so feel free to tweet and share over the next 45 minutes.
The hashtag is Startup Grind. If you could add the van on the end of it, Startup Grind van, that would be fantastic, because that's just our chapter. Otherwise, everyone in the world will get it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
That's what we make it trend.
Yeah?
Let's make it trend.
Let's make tonight awesome. All right, well, let's get started. Let's start with your background. Where are you from?
I'm actually from New Brunswick. I did fly in from Ontario just because that's where I have to connect every time I leave New Brunswick. But my background, it's interesting. I've been building companies since I was 17. I taught myself to program. I built my first company. It was called Maritime Vacation. It was a vacation rental site, which in hindsight, in today's world, sounds like a great idea. Turned out that I wasted a lot of money, failed on that one. I did make $1 on the internet, which I've always joked, if you've ever built something, put it online, and had anybody that wasn't your cousin, your parent, your best friend buy from you, you've gone pro. It's
just
hard.
$1?
Yeah, it's $1. Getting anybody to pull out a credit card and buy something from you is a special moment. So at a young age, I guess I got kind of understanding of how the internet works, and then built a web hosting company, because if you build web apps for other people, you think, why shouldn't people pay me to host a website? That was a dumb idea. It was called MD Host. I had no life, 24/7 supporting people, like making no money, so don't start a web hosting company. And then eventually, when I was 24, I figured it out a bit with a company called Spirit Technologies, which is an enterprise portal company. Grew that to 30 employees, a couple million in revenue, got acquired in 2008. And then moved to the Valley, started another company called Flowtown, raised venture capital for my first time. Grew that to 50,000 customers, sold that at the end of 2011. And then started Clarity.
Wow,
So, yeah,
you just pretty much answered all my questions right there.
Oh, sorry, yeah, so we can all go home now. But, and then I've been investing in startups. I've done 34 investments so far since 2006. I started kind of as a cure to my ADD. You know, I'd like see something that was a shiny object, and obviously I wanted to stay focused on my current company, so it was a nice way to do that. I continue to do that today. So.
Do you think that plays a big part as to why you're an entrepreneur?
The angel investing, wanting to help people, or which
the
one?
ADD part.
Oh, absolutely. Want to buy a bike? No, you get that? I want to buy that domain for people that have ADHD. But some of you are getting it now. Get it? Want to buy a bike? I say that to my dad all the time. He hates it. I think ADHD is actually like a superpower for me. I didn't think it was a bad thing, so I started writing. If you sign up for Clarity, the first email you get from me says like, hey, if you're like me, that you have ADHD, you won't read this email. And people are replying, like I've been invited to talk on like podcasts and all these things. I'm just like, look, I never thought it was a bad thing. You know, I always thought it was kind of a power I had, because it allows me to focus and be creative. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting, especially for all of us out there who are the same. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit here. You skipped over a lot of things. Where would you say your entrepreneurial journey really started?
Well, I mean, so you're talking like when I was young now?
Yeah, like you're 17, your first company, that was what, the real estate one?
You want to, I mean, I'll go even further. Actually, this is kind of crazy. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was 11, I was in foster care, group homes, got into drugs, and eventually ended up in rehab. So I always joke that I learned business on the streets, right? Like, yeah, like I still to this day, I obviously actually learned how to code while I was in rehab when I was 16. And I taught those kids, you know, I go into this place called Portage, saved my life, great place. Yeah, so I went to Portage 17 years ago, and when I taught these kids, I always say to them, I was like, you have probably the best foundation to be business people out there. Like, you understand, fronting is like, cash flow and, supply chain management, negotiating, risking, what are you talking about? Like, they're entrepreneurs, they just need to focus on stuff that's not illegal. When you ask, like, where did it really start? There. Luckily, my dad was happy, obviously, I found stuff that was a little bit more productive than breaking the law, but, the internet was, it was just another kind of vehicle to kind of create. I used to build snow castles and tree forts when I was a kid and make people pay
Did you make money?
Yeah, I did. I was in real estate when I was like 8, right? I charged people $0.25 to play in my treehouse. But, I've always just loved creating stuff.
That's awesome. So, your first company, the real estate one, right?
MaritimeVacation.ca.
Okay. You mentioned that failed.
Yeah.
What went wrong there?
I chose MaritimeVacation.ca. So my total market size was 200 cottages. So there was this better named company in Ontario called atthecottage.com. They obviously had a branding person on their team, but it failed just because it was such a small. I just didn't think big enough. I mean, if I was thinking big enough, I wouldn't have done that. And again, these are all stacked lessons. Like, that lesson taught me the next one. So I got nbhost.com, and I didn't call it New Brunswick Host, I called it NB Host, because that could be named anything. So there's, I even if it failed, I learned so much, right? I learned direct marketing, I learned, we made probably 25,000 in sales, so it wasn't, no, people actually, so this was back in the day, it was like 98, 99, and I was just telling this story, somebody asked me how I got my first customer. Like, I built this site, and I was like, now I need to get customers, and somebody said, there's this magazine called New Brunswick Tourism Guide, and it listed all the cottages and all the bed and breakfasts in this guide. So I opened up Microsoft Access, I plugged in all the addresses, opened up Microsoft Word, built a mail merge, and essentially mail spammed all these people.
Before they had MailChimp.
Yeah, no, this is old school ghetto, like printed off envelopes. I paid my little brother to stuff all the envelopes. And all it said was, hey, you've heard of this thing on the internet and you want a website for your bed and breakfast, send me $35 and 3 pictures, and if you want your pictures back, give me an extra $5. And 2 weeks later, my dad checked the mail and there was like envelopes of cash, like people, like cash. Yeah, I was like, if I worked at like the postal office, I'd be stealing this. Like, how did this get through the mail system? So, I didn't take credit cards on our website. It was that ghetto. So I don't know. It was, I just learned that sometimes you don't need everything to line up to make it work. You just need to get it going.
Okay. Yeah. And one of the first successful businesses you started was
Spirit. Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
So that was more of a consulting company. We built a product as a way to get into the customer. I was 24 when I started that, and we decided to sell to Fortune 500 companies. I don't know, like honestly I look back, I laugh, because there was no, other than the only job I ever had for 10 months, I worked as a consultant for Fortune 500 companies. So I knew as much as I learned in 10 months, and I figured those are the customers we want. I learned really quickly that CTOs and CMOs of big companies don't buy from 24-year-olds in New Brunswick. So I had to figure it out. I learned sales. I'm a programmer, so I taught myself how to code. And I bought every book on sales. And I've never, you guys want to know how I grew that company?
Yes.
You guys want to know the real answer? There's the one you tell to the press. The truth is, people talk about growth hacks, but the thing about a growth hack is it's kind of like an exploit, like a virus. Like, it's only as good as until they build the antivirus software. So nobody talks about growth hacks because if everybody knew them, they'd be doing them, they wouldn't be a growth hack, right? The one that we did for Spirit was, I realized, so the software that companies would buy was called Plumtree. It was this very expensive portal software, kind of like Microsoft SharePoint today or other stuff like that. And I said, well, I need to get the call after they buy the software, right? Like, if you sell stuff to insurance companies, it'd be nice to get the call as soon as the insurance company's incorporated, because they need to buy your product as soon as they start as an insurance company. And I was trying to figure out how could I insert myself into that conversation after they buy the software, and I realized the first thing they do once they buy it is they hire people to install it. So I created a bunch of fake resumes and I put them on every job board out there. And the phone number was myself. So when they called Jane, and they were all different, I'd be like, oh, Jane's on vacation, but she forwarded her number to me. Are you looking for a plumber person? I shit you not. That's how I grew the company of 30 people. Yeah, my phone would ring all the time. I would put on Dice, Career, like everywhere, would have all these fake resumes, and it was like all the different like spheres of like senior architect to lead developer to junior programmer, and then they'd call me, and then I would like rush really quick to hire somebody, and then send them off. And yeah, I mean, I totally forgot that I did that till the other day when somebody asked me that. But if you have a service company, you could do the same thing today.
Do you think that would work today?
I don't know if people do that. I mean, I didn't do it. It's kind of like there's things you do in year 1 and 2 and 3 that you don't do in year 4. So luckily we built enough of a company and a brand that we started going direct, but in the beginning that was how I did it, yeah.
Do you think there's more of like a modern day version of that?
I think every company, every startup that you look at figures that out. So this is recorded, so there's a few things I can't say.
I can edit them out.
No, I'll tell you guys the first one. I'll tell you the first growth hack for getting the experts on clarity. And when I say it, it's obvious, but most of you, if I asked, you guys could never name it. So where would you go online? So the way I try to figure out like where do you get your ideal customer, for us is getting experts. That's our business. What community online has the best qualified list of experts?
Reddit?
Right? They're all good answers, right? Anybody got anything else?
Craigslist.
Anything else?
Craigslist.
No?
YouTube.
Anything else? Anything else?
Wiki.
Nobody named it. SlideShare. What's on the last slide of everybody's presentation? Ta-da! So I had a bunch of people in the Philippines. Right? I went on no desk, hired like 6 people, and they searched the top terms, the top user with the top views on their profile, on their slides, and that's how we built their expert side.
I feel like SlideShare is one of those overlooked ones.
It's one of the, I mean, they are huge, and you're kind of pre-qualified. Like, people on Core think they're smart because they answer questions and build, notoriety, but if you've given a presentation in front of a room and it's got 20,000 views, like, you're an expert on that topic. And the last slide is their contact info. So it was a no-brainer. The other ones you'd have to guess email addresses. I mean, all good answers, but not the one we discovered and we tested. So I think for whatever business, there's the equivalent. You just got to ask yourself the right questions.
Okay, so you sold Spirit.
Yeah.
Was that always the plan?
No, I think I was just trying not to go upside down again. You know, like, I just didn't want to die. Like, those would be you imagine the 3rd company you start fails like that. You know, at some point you guys start asking yourself if you should get a job. So, I mean, it grew. I mean, there was a point 2 years in, we were 12 employees, about $1.5 million revenue, and I almost blew it up. You know, I don't know if you guys built, I don't know how many entrepreneurs in the room, but we got into a point where I had hired 3 people. I didn't have any work for them. It was the end of the year, and essentially I was going to go like upside down cash flow wise, like, you know. And that was when I realized the power of mentorship. Before that, I was blindly trying to build a business based on the best information I could guess, because that's all I had was books, the internet, and myself.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that. How did you learn the power of mentorship? And who was your first mentor?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story because, you know, at the end of the year, there's 3 things that happen for everybody, but me it's a little different, is you know, New Year's Eve, which is like this year to reflect. There's Christmas, which means everybody's off. And then on the 26th of December is my birthday, which is another time for individuals to look back on the year that you know, what have you done with your life? And for me, I'm looking, you know, everybody else, my whole team's on vacation. I'm looking at our spreadsheets going, I'm gonna have to lay people off or go bankrupt. And here I am, I screwed this up again. So I actually went in this really kind of weird depression. And I'll tell you guys, it was, for 2 weeks, every night, I would lay in a bathtub with my nose above the water and just stay there for hours.
Sounds scary.
Yeah, no, it was just weird. Like, it was like, I had no clue. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, I'm a big guy to be laying in a bathtub. Like, I know that's the first thing you guys thought. Like, just laying in a bathtub. But out of desperation, I said, who would care if I die? Not as a not me as a person, but if I died as a company. And I thought the prime minister, or no, the premier of the province. So we have this guy named Frank McKenna, who's now really well known. He ran our province, and I figured all of our customers are in the U.S. We had Fortune 500 companies, Procter & Gamble, Deloitte, or Dole Foods, Johnson & Johnson, like major companies. All our team was in Canada. We did a bunch of work in the US and a bunch of import or export money. And I cold emailed Frank McKenna on like December 28th, and I said, hey, here's who I am. I don't know anybody like me. Do you have anybody in this province that has built a company similar to this? You know, they could give me some ideas. And he wrote back within 30 minutes and said, these are the 3 people you need to talk to. And those guys, like Jerry Pond, who's now today one of the best investors, Radiant 6, Q1 Labs, top angel investor, Steve Palmer, who is the CEO of this company called White Hill that got acquired by Oracle, and another guy named Ken Nickerson, who's one of the top angel investors, used to work at Microsoft with Bill Gates. And those 3 guys, like, he gave me the names, and then I went quickly and emailed them. And like Jerry Pond, if you Google him right now, he looks like an old grumpy man. And Jerry knows this, because I've told him. I was like, you know, out of all the people you look online you're going to reach out to, like, you want them to look friendly? That's not Jerry. It turns out he's the nicest guy in the world. So I emailed all these guys, and they wrote back within, like, this was at midnight. The next morning, I had a call from Jerry, said, drive to St. John, we'll talk. Steve Palmer, this is a funny one, he goes, I can meet on Sunday morning at Tim Hortons at 7 a.m. I was like, okay. I was like, well, you really need coffee or something? Like this? And I later found out that the reason he did that was his way to test people, right? If you would have said, oh, I'm busy on Sunday, or, you know, because if you went out on Saturday night, whatever, or you weren't willing to meet that early, he just wouldn't reply to you. And those 3 guys have been instrumental to everything I've ever accomplished in my life. I mean, I wouldn't have moved to San Francisco if it wasn't for Ken Nickerson. Jerry's the one that sat down. He brought his whole board. He had this company called Mariner that had 150 employees. Again, I was 12 at the time. He brought his whole executive team in a boardroom and sat down with me and walked me through what a big company like mine should work and look like, and how to forecast and do all these really smart things that I wasn't doing. And Steve, from an operations point of view, just helped me get really efficient. So that was the moment at 26 years old that I realized that I was working way harder than I had to. And there was a lot of value in getting advice from people who have been there before. Hence clarity, really.
So how did that change how you were working?
Now I don't try to be the smartest person in the room by any means. I always, anytime I have an idea for anything, I always ask myself, who's done this before? And I just reach out to them. Somebody came up to me, Mona? I don't know where you got Mona. There she is. She's like, you called me one day. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, what was it about? It's like, I do this all the time. When I see things that are interesting online, I just call. Like, if I have an idea to do something, like I want to open up an office in Asia, I ask myself, who's opened up an office in Asia? And then I just call them. And I just...
What do you ask?
I just say, hey, you've opened up an office in Asia. They're like, yeah. I said, I'd love to get some thoughts on that. And they're like, of course. Like, what's 7 minutes, right? And really, that's 7 minutes on that specific topic, and they know I'm actually going to take that advice and execute on it. It's exciting for them and me, and you do that with 3 or 4 people on a specific topic. By the end of the day, you could read a book, you could go to a conference, but it's not as powerful as getting that advice really quick.
Have you ever tried to get in touch with someone that wouldn't talk to you?
All the time.
What do you do?
I just go, like, if you have 10 people, like, let's say you wanted to talk to, like, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, et cetera, et cetera. Like, make a bigger list than those 3 names. That's all I'm gonna say. But if you have a big enough list and you're genuine, somebody's gonna bite. And really, I don't care about notability, I care more about experience. So sometimes people think, oh, I need to talk to Bill Gates about this. I need to fucking talk to Bill Gates. Yeah, like Mark Cuban's one of my investors. Like, I don't turn to Mark for a whole lot, because he's here, he's like, he's dealing with billion-dollar ideas, and I'm trying to get to like 100 million. So like, I don't want to bug him, because there's a bunch of people building towards 100 that are in my peer group. So I think a lot of times, people go, they try to get advice from people that are really notable, and it's the wrong person. I think the right people as an advisor is people that are about 2 to 3 years ahead of you. That's like the ultimate, because they still remember what it was like to be you, so they can give you advice that's very contextually relevant. If you go to somebody who hasn't built a company in 30 years but is a billionaire, like, the world was different, right? So that's my 2 cents on that. Is there trucks that are going to drive through that wall?
Sure. I think we'll be safe. So after you sold Spheric, you took some time off. Well, what did you do in that time?
I took 3 months off. I said I was going to retire, so I bought a wakeboarding boat, a cottage, and a hot tub. 28. Yeah, I was 28. I was like, what more do you need? That lasted 3 months, and then all my friends went back to university or back to their jobs. It was the summertime, so I sold the company in May, took the summer off. And then I just woke up one day and said, I wonder if any of my crazy ideas would hold water with some of the smartest people in the world. That was San Francisco. So September 1st, I packed up my mountain bike and my suitcase and just showed up.
So you just packed your bags?
No plan, nothing.
Okay, so what happened when you got there?
Oh, I've never told this.
Now I'm excited.
Yeah.
You and your mountain bike showed up.
Yeah, so what was it? Here's the thing, I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories. The thing that's special in San Francisco is I rented a place off Craigslist. The first day I show up, the woman was really polite. She lived upstairs. Her dad was usually in this apartment when he was there. And she goes, hey, it's first day of school. We're having a party in our backyard, which is essentially my entrance was the backyard. Tonight, if you want to come, you're more than welcome. And so I'm in my little studio apartment, working, trying to get my bearings straight and all this stuff. I've never been to San Francisco, didn't know anybody from San Francisco, just figured this is the place. And I hear the party going. At 7 o'clock, I decide, okay, I'm gonna go out and quickly mingle and try not to make an ass of myself. And I get out and I'm looking around and I see Chris Anderson from Wired, right? I don't know if you guys know, wrote the book Free, and I'm just like, what the fuck is Chris Anderson doing here? Like, this is bananas. And then I was like, asking her, I said, do you know that's Chris? She goes, yeah, her daughter goes to school, my daughter, or his daughter goes to school. And I'm just like, this is the coolest place ever. And it turns out that that's the way the city works. Like the next day I would go to coffee shops and I'd look around and be like, hey, that's the guy that writes on TechCrunch, or that guy writes on GigaOM, or this guy, the founder of BitTorrent, is like sitting there coding BitTorrent. And I'm like, this is really cool. So,
did you ever talk to those people?
No, not first. But here was my plan. I figure I'm gonna go there and I'm just gonna do a sabbatical. I didn't know what I wanted to work on next. I figured I'm just gonna be around smart people, ask them lots of questions. Turns out that city has no patience for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. All right, imagine that this is me for 3 weeks. Hey, who are you? Hi, I'm Dan. What do you do? Well, I don't really know. I just moved here, and they would stop talking to me, turn around and go, hey, and talk to the person on the other side. And I was just like, wow. In Canada, we wouldn't do that. And I did this again for 3 weeks, and I was like, okay, obviously maybe it's the coffee shop I'm in, so I went to the next coffee shop. I actually Googled top coffee shops for startups. So I went to Phil's, Ritual Roasters, these places, I went everywhere, and I was getting the same reaction. And I even went as far as booking all the events, right? I'm in the city, I'm gonna go to these events. And so I went to a bunch of events, but I was having this experience there as well. And the straw that, that really broke the camel's back for me was, I was at GigaOM. It was a mobilizer event, which is down, down, Mission, wherever. And lunchtime comes around, and I did my usual thing where I looked at all the tables and who was opened up. There was wherever there was an open spot and people on each side, right? Double the opportunity to talk to somebody, grab my little box lunch, sit down, and I go through this routine. It's like, hey, this guy's turns to me and he's like, hey, what do you do? And I was like, I said that same thing, and he just stops. And he turns and starts talking to the person he was talking to before I sat down. And I ate half my sandwich, got up, and walked home, depressed. I was like, fuck this city, I'm going home. These people are mean. I'm dead serious. I remember I called my brother and I'm like, he's like, how's things going? I said, I don't know, man. I can't, I don't have, this is, what am I doing here? And, but while I was doing that, I was cold emailing a lot of people. I believe anytime you start something new, you should make a list of 100 people, either, not just fundraising, but 100 people that can support you, that know about stuff. I call it the C100, which is weird because there's now this thing called the C100. I call it the C100 because it was the customer 100. In enterprise sales, it's here's the top list of 100 customers you should have as customers, and you look at it. So the same idea. I moved to San Francisco, I made a list of 100 people I wanted to get to know. One of those guys is Paul Graham from My Combinator. So I cold emailed all these people, and Paul replied, and I said, Paul, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm having a hard time, people are connecting. He goes, this is such a simple email. I said, I don't know what I can do, I want to be helpful to people, here's what I know how to do. And he wrote back and he just said, every startup needs help with marketing, do that, because that was one of my skills. And then the next day, people say, what do? I help startups with marketing. I'm a startup, I need help with marketing. Change my life. Change my life. I'm going on this point. So, that city is ruthless if you really don't know what you're doing. And sometimes the shortest quick reply emails will change somebody's life. And Paul doesn't know this to this day, but yeah.
Paul doesn't know that.
No, he'll know. I'll send him the video. I mean, yeah, no, it's kind of funny because, and that's why, like, if anybody's ever emailed me, I always reply because I know that sometimes it's those one-liners, it's that word, it's that sentence, and you know, it just depends where the person's at. But that changed everything. Right after that happened, I started working with companies for 2 weeks for free. So my thing was I didn't need to get paid, I just wanted to be helpful. And I did that, and then the economy crashed, which was bad for everybody else, but good for me because they all needed help with marketing. And I got to know a bunch of the investors, and doing that work is where I came up with the idea for Flowtown.
Okay, so you started Flowtown in San Francisco.
Yeah.
What were the early days like there?
Oh. You're so good. I don't know if it's just, you're just like, hey, what was it like? And I just want to tell you the truth. And it's like...
Is it because I look innocent?
Yeah, just like, does she really want to know?
I do.
Yeah, it's, you know, the truth is there's two versions of a company. There's what's called Success Theater, which if you go on YouTube and you Google my name, you'll see me do that. I can do that. Humans like that. They like story. They like there's a clean arc. There was like this beginning and an end. But the truth is, it's never what it is at the end. We tell the story that way because sometimes it's good for our brain because it almost seems schizophrenic or weird to actually think, why did I do it that way? So we clean it up. And the truth about Flowtown is we started, it's called landing pages. It wasn't even Flowtown. It was landingpage.es, so PAG-S or whatever. It was unmounts. That's how I'm an investor in unmounts because we built a landing page tool. They obviously built the better one. And I like the market, we pivoted into something around social and emails, and we call it Flowtown, but that was the beginning. So it was like, we always had the technology for the social stuff in the email, but we needed the landing pages to get the emails. So a lot of people don't know that story. It lasted for 2 months, and then we pivoted, and then the company took off. I mean, we did 20,000 in revenue in our first month, and then we kept growing 30% month over month. We raised a 700, I mean, this is an interesting story, because Mitch Capor, who created Lotus Notes, right? He was friends with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Like, Mitch Capor is the man. One of my friends knew him, so when we were raising a round of funding, he said, hey, you should talk to Mitch. I'm like, Mitch who? He's like, Capor. I'm like, that's like somebody saying you should talk to Steve Jobs. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll make an introduction. He says yes. So like, we're going to this meeting, and I'm like, I don't even give a shit if he invests. I'm just like, I can't believe I'm gonna start. It was bananas. I'm like, what? Why would he meet with me? And it was just really interesting. And we're sitting there, and we hit it off with him and his whole team. And at the end, he looks, he says, yeah, I'm interested. Let's do this. And he gave us 150 grand. Wow. Yeah, like, I was like, this world is just really interesting. So, I don't know. I don't know how things work out in life, but I just feel like sometimes if you just like stick at it and do it and follow your gut and your heart really, that great things will happen. And that was one of those moments. And Flowtown was a crazy ride, but you know, that fundraising process and having him and then Dave McClure and a bunch of other amazing investors. Steve Anderson from Baseline, one of the best investors in the world, first investor in Instagram, kind of knows what he's doing. That was awesome. I remember when they announced it, I called him, and I was like, that was a good day. He goes, yep, yep. Like, yeah, that was awesome. And he's laughing. I'm not going to say this on camera. Anyways, it's too bad it's all recorded.
Almost forgot the camera now.
Yeah, but yeah, so we did the fundraising, built the product, got shut down by Facebook. That sucked. Had to rebuild the company, grew it back, got acquired. You know, startup life.
So you got shut down by Facebook?
Yeah, it was so shitty. We were doing our Series A. I mean, the revenue was amazing. Everything was great. Like 30% month over month recurring revenue. Everything you would expect. Hockey stick, blah, blah, blah. we started doing our Series A fundraising. We probably met with like 10 or 12 VC firms in like 2 or 3 days, going really well, meetings were great. And all of a sudden, I remember we were sitting in the lobby of this VC firm, and one of our developers who was on the East Coast sends us a text and says, "Have you seen the Wall Street Journal?" And we're like, "No, we're like driving on a highway." And so I Google Facebook privacy. And somebody in Wall Street Journal did this deep investigative story about how there was nefarious companies out there using Facebook data and selling it. And it was like this underground market that was voiding Facebook's terms of service and saying that all you Facebook users are essentially screwed and people are buying and selling your private data. And Facebook immediately, so that was on the cover of the New York Times, or the Wall Street Journal. And we go into a meeting explaining how we built this technology that leverages Facebook data to build social media marketing automation. And the guy goes, "Hey, did you read the Wall Street Journal? How does that affect your company?" And I'm like, "It doesn't, totally different thing." Don't worry about it. There's a different thing. We are not that. 2 weeks later, the whole product didn't work anymore the way we built it. Facebook had to respond to that, and they changed. Essentially what they did is they changed the terms of service to say, if you use our data, you can use it in the app, you cannot give it to anybody else outside the app. But our tool integrated with all the email software out there to do the email part.
So it did.
It stopped working. So we had to go to the whiteboard, blah, blah, blah. It was one of the, I've had some other really hard times in the startup world, but that was one of the toughest ones.
What helped you to stay focused and keep going?
I just don't like to fail. Not embarrassing myself.
That's a good
yeah, no, I think for me it's the team. Like I believe if you have really great people, even if you fail, like it was just, people say it's the journey, and I'm gonna say it, and you're gonna hear it, but you're not gonna understand it if you're not doing it. Like once, even, I've been through a couple acquisitions, like people think that's the purpose, and it's not. It is really like, this day, the challenges, the people, and the stuff you got to work on and build today is why you build companies, not the outcome. Like 100%. And you'd hear it, and I'd hear it, and I didn't understand it until I went through it a couple times. And now, like every day, I cherish the journey. I tell the team in our stand-ups, like, don't ever forget this, document it, remember it, write it down, because someday you're gonna remember. Like, the early days are some of the funnest days you ever had. So, I think that if you have a great team, you have great investors and supporters, that even if you get shut down or you have a major issue, you got to be thankful, right? I remember one time hearing Oprah got sued by like the mad cow people for like $1 billion, and her response was like, "I thank the Lord that I have the kind of like public profile that I could be sued for $1 billion." Like that's a high quality problem. Like you're getting sued for $1 billion, bring it on. So that's the way. Anytime something bad goes, I'm just like, thank you for being in a position to have that kind of thing happen.
It's a really great outlook. I like it.
Works for Oprah.
Works for us too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so this talk is really it's supposed to be about life as an instigator.
Fireside.
Yeah, fireside chat. What does being an instigator mean to you?
Yes, I forgot. She's like, "Hey, when you come speak in Vancouver," I was like, "For sure, here's my slide." She's like, "This is a conversation." I was like, "Oh." So instigator to me it's kind of like, people call themselves hustlers, but I think hustler is a little overused. Instigator to me is like, it's almost like maybe artists and instigators. I think entrepreneurs and artists are very similar. I think anybody that creates something and puts it out to the world to be judged is a special person, right? Like you created this event. Actually, let's give Cheryl a big round of applause. And I feel like instigators are sometimes the people doing or instigating other people to do. And if you ever have a chance to talk to like this Cheryl Draper, Andrew, a bunch of the Vancouver crew, they push, you talk to them and they kind of like push you off the edge. And I love that idea of being an instigator, being the person when you hear somebody share with you their idea, you go do it. Do it right now. Stop talking to me. And I do this all the time. It's like, stop talking to me, it's a good idea, run. Like go build something, go sell it. Like, and I feel like that is a great frame of mind that I've lived in. Like, that's why I invest in people, that's why I spend a lot of time traveling and talking to entrepreneurs, is I like to push them off the cliff.
Just to see what happens.
Yeah, so that to me is an instigator in the most positive possible way to interpret it.
And how long have you had this belief?
You know, I mean, I pretty much since I was 17. Like, you know, I found this really amazing place called Portage. It saved my life. The reason why, and a lot of people don't know this, is it's the only rehab center in all of Canada where the staff are ex-drug addicts, right? And I think I learned then the value of getting advice from people, right? Like, it was really through that experience of, you know, growing up, I was, you know, I called it a colorful childhood, but, you know, you know, I made some bad decisions. So I've been in other programs and stuff, but nothing worked because I was like, what the fuck do you know? You like read a book, you know, and when I went to this place where the people had been through it with me, I just felt like that was the lessons I learned about getting advice from people who've been there before, pushing people to be better, right? Like, these people were in my shoes and they got better and now they're teaching us. And I just feel like this whole, you know, the biggest lesson they taught me was you can only keep what you give away, right? And that's why I give a lot. That's why I'm here. Like, everything I've ever gotten in life is because I gave it away first, expecting nothing in return, and somehow it'd come back. And that to me is the instigator part.
It's kind of like finding mentors that are 2 to 3 years above you.
Totally. I mean, you know, I was talking to Andrew about this today. Like, the beautiful thing about the Valley is you feel so inadequate, right? Like, you know, you guys know Brian Wong. Like, Brian's an amazing entrepreneur, and he's like 10 years old. So it's like, I feel like the old guy. So it's kind of like you're always pushing. You know, it's just like this positive peer pressure concept, and I think that is part of that belief that I've had pretty much my whole life.
Cool. Tell me a bit about these instigator dinners that you host.
Yeah, so I mean, we did one today. They're either, I call them founder lunches, instigator dinners, whatever word you want to call them. It's really the idea of bringing people together to break bread. I just think, you know, as much as I'm a tech guy, I have a company that connects people over the phone, so you think I'd be all about the phone. I'm not. I really believe there's value in sitting down and sharing a meal with somebody where you just learn so much about somebody, you build a relationship. You know, one time I looked at all the investors I've ever raised money from, it's like probably like 35 people. And then the people I've pitched, which is probably like 125. And I realized that the people that ever gave me money is because I met them at least once in my life. That's a very simple thing, and I just want you guys to remember this. If you're ever trying to raise money and you never met the person, good luck. Like, yeah, there's something that people don't understand. There's something physical that happens, biological, that when you sit down and you talk to somebody, you don't get that through Skype or video chat or phone call. Like, you need to like physically be there. And so what I do, and I've done this for 10 years, I read a book called Never Eat Alone. Again, back when I was trying to like teach myself business, there's a site called the Personal MBA that says, here's 100 books you could read instead of getting an MBA. I didn't have time to get an MBA, nor would any university accept me. This book, Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, pretty much lays out the plan. Like, you eat 3 times a day. If you could invite people to like share that meal with you, over a year, think about all the people you've met. And now, when I travel, I do breakfast, lunch, and dinners. And at home, I do 1 dinner every week at a minimum. And that's how I've met most of the people in this room, is when I was in San Francisco, I'd say, if you're Canadian and come in. It was kind of crazy. Like, you got to the point where every day at lunch, a bunch of people would show up. I didn't know who they were. And some of you guys emailed me for today for lunch, right? I met some new people. And that's it. I just put you on the email and calendar invite, and then we all meet there, and I'm like, hey, what do you do? And like, I just thought that's a really interesting way to get to know people. And then, so I've been doing that for a long time. Every amazing opportunity. Recently, in May, I got to spend a week with Richard Branson at his house in Switzerland. And people are like, how the fuck did you get into it? Why would Richard want you to hang out with you? 4 years prior, one of my friends introduced me to his friend that was moving from New York to San Francisco. I invited him to one of my dinners. He didn't know anybody. Kind of like me when I first moved there. He was day one, and I invited him to a dinner with about a dozen other really amazing entrepreneurs. He ended up co-founding a company, making a bunch of best friends at that dinner. I didn't see him for 4 years, but we were like Twitter internet friends, so we all knew what was going on. And one day, and he ended up being friends with Richard. And Richard says, hey, I want you to invite 9 of your friends to come ski for a week at my house in Switzerland that's working on entrepreneurial stuff. And he goes, my buddy Dan. And I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I was like, dude, he's like, do you want to come and hang out? And I'm like, okay, it was like May. And then, really weird. But again, if I look back at every amazing thing that's ever happened in my life, from the people who invested in me to some of the relationships I built in my startup or hires, it all came from people I got to know, typically over a meal.
What's one thing you learned from Richard Branson that week?
That's a great question. So it was really an amazing thing. It was him, his wife, and 9 other people. And the other people were like co-founder of Square, so Jack Dorsey's co-founder, Brian, who just sold Braintree for $850 million, Tim Ferriss. I was like, what the hell am I doing here? And, you know, and every night we'd have dinner and do activities all day. And when I was sitting there next to Richard, he was like, hey, what are you working on? And I was telling him. And it was really neat, because you know what he said to me, and he almost made me cry? He goes, your parents must be really proud of you. I'm just like, okay, your parents must be proud of you. But he's just that nice of a guy. Like, I was a little taken back. I thought we were gonna start talking about like detailed business stuff. And he's like, no, your parents are... And then I started talking to him, and I said, you know, how do you run your day? And I was just really curious, because it was neat. Like, we're sitting there, and like this guy shows up, and he goes out on this patio of his lodge, his house. It's kind of huge. And they're talking, and then they come in and go, hey everybody, you should meet Jeff, and Jeff, these are some amazing entrepreneurs. And I'm like, hey Jeff, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm the CEO of Virgin Atlantic. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. Yeah, I was like, didn't you just get these big Dreamliner planes? He's like, yeah, actually we did. And he just went off. He loves, I mean, the guy is passionate. And I was curious, like, how did Richard hire this guy? And he said he was number 2 at United, right? And that was like, that lesson, Richard has 400 companies. Virgin Group of businesses has 2 CEOs. And there's a CEO for every company. He doesn't go to board meetings, and if you want to meet with them, you go to him, right? So that Jeff guy flew from London on a helicopter to Geneva or wherever, and like came in just for that hour-and-a-half meeting because they were talking about something really big. And like I just, you know, he integrated his life into everything, right? So that was like the biggest thing I took from it was hire really great people and make sure that like the work-life stuff is all one thing. Like, you know, everybody talks about Necker Island. He pretty much invites, you know, probably hundreds of people every year to just spend time with him, and he talks to them. He wants to learn about ideas. I mean, it was just a really amazing week, just seeing how he lived. And I wish that was documented, because I think a lot of people would be inspired that, you know, there's like people always talk about like this, like I have my like family life and I have my work life. F that. I don't. Like, if you're a Moncton, you stay at my house. You know, I don't watch sports. Business is my sport. I'm cool with that. You know, I like to create stuff. I like to help people on projects. I just feel like it should just all be one thing.
Do you get your kids involved?
Well, my kids are little. They're 1.5 and 2.5. But they're gonna be 3D printing, drone flying, Bitcoin selling. So. Oh yeah, no, my kids, I might have played with sticks and snow, but they're gonna have some cool gear. I mean, they're gonna build iOS apps, because I need some shit built. Hey, it's called parenting. They used to have farms, now they have app stores. Somebody's gonna tweet that, I'm gonna get in trouble.
You can edit that out with your kids.
No, that's all good.
Do that for the couple of years.
Dad, you predicted this.
It sounds exciting.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's stick to our topic a little bit more here. Tell me, what are these 5 unconventional beliefs that shape your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, well, we talked a couple about them. So one is never listen to your parents. That's one. I'll tell you the reason why. It's real simple. Is as a parent, I know this now firsthand, but I kind of learned it with my dad. Is your parents don't want to see you screw up, right? So a lot of people feel frustrated because their parents don't support their dreams or their goals or whatever, but you gotta understand, when you're a kid and they're teaching you to ride a bike, like the last thing they want to do is let go of that bike seat, because they don't want to see you smash your face, right? And like, you shouldn't be upset that that's how they feel. That is human, I get it now. But you got to understand that if you want to create a life that is more interesting or more impactful than they've created, then you can't take their advice and internalize it. It sounds crazy. People, I mean, when I say this, all the parents are like, I don't agree with you. Hey, whatever. All I know is that I only take advice and get and internalize opinions of people that I admire their outcome. That's my life. Like, that's it. I love my dad. I talk to him all the time about business, but he never built a venture-backed company. He's never, you know what I mean? So that's one of my lessons that I think really helps people decide on kind of which paths to take. The other one would be motivation trumps knowledge, right? I think a lot of people think that I need to have all the answers before I start the company. And the truth is if you started a business and you didn't know what the hell you were doing, welcome to the club. Like, it's actually, you're not supposed to know, right? Like, that's actually part of the role. You know, like, it's kind of like expecting if you skateboard, right? Like, there's this thing called a kickflip. And like, first time I
do that.
Yeah, okay, awesome skater. But imagine if you thought, like, the first time I get on the skateboard, I'm gonna land a kickflip. It's like this,
I did.
Yeah, sure. You just wouldn't. That's not feasible, and I feel like people don't understand that the more important thing is to get the motivation, right? And the motivation means quitting your job, right? Some people be like, you're telling people to quit their job. No, don't go quit your job and then go bankrupt. It's so scary what I tell people to do. Anyways, you need to put yourself in a motivation where you burn the boats. You know your threshold. I don't want you to end up in a loony bin. But all I know is that most people don't accomplish because they didn't set up the motivation at the beginning. Tim Ferriss actually talks a lot about this in the 4-Hour Chef, where he talks about, like, when you set a goal, like, you have to be public about it, you gotta tell your peers, there has to be a down. I mean, he even goes as far as which organization you hate in the world, right? So maybe it's like the anti-whatever organization, maybe it's like, you know, the pro-gun. And if you don't achieve your goal, you gotta donate $1,000 to that charity, right? So like that's the accountability and the motivation side. I don't know, there's 5, so you want me to talk about all 5? Usually this is an hour-long conversation, so.
You don't have to talk about all 5. We're actually just ending our time here, so I might give it over to some questions if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll try to incorporate them into the answer.
That sounds like a really great idea.
Hi Dan, I'm Tris Hussey from Team Fit, and
I think
Tris Hussey.
Tris?
Tris.
That's a great name.
Thank you.
It's like Chris with the T.
Chris with the T.
Cool.
So Mark Evans wrote about 2 weeks ago that he thinks Canadian startups aren't audacious enough. You kind of touched on that, but I think it's a general pervasive attitude in Canada that we don't swing for the fences. What should we, how do you think we can change that? How do you think we can be audacious and go for it?
So, that's a great question, Tris. The challenge with that is the solution is people in proximity. All right, so the way that you get a group of people to be more audacious, so let's say like this group of people, you guys are all like on the same level of audaciousness, and we wanted to like do an experiment. What I would do to get this group of people to think more audaciously is I would go grab 5 to 10 audacious thinkers and then make them interact with those people. And then those people, especially if they're people that have done this stuff, like the #1 thing I learned in the Valley is being around people that I saw. First week, or not first week, but like the first 2 months I landed in San Francisco after I realized what I was doing, I met Eric Ries, lean startup, amazing. Heat Shock, Kissmetrics, very shortly Ryan Hootsuite, Drew Houston from Dropbox, Joe and Brian from Airbnb. Travis Kalanick was one of my investors in Flowtown, who's the founder of Uber. Like, I've met people at the beginning that are now running multi-billion-dollar companies. And I say that because now that I've seen a person no different than you guys sitting in this audience go from that and Airbnb, seriously, airbedandbreakfast.com. I was sitting there having dinner with Joe and I thought, you're the nicest guy ever, but this is the dumbest. I was like, people let strangers sleep in their house while they're there. Yes. Who does? I was like, the government should collect all your customers because they're the crazy people. I could not get my head right. And clearly it changed so that it was a bigger addressable market, but You know, once you see that, you can't unsee it. It's kind of like once your mind expands, you can't contract. It like stays there, and that is the number one thing and that is the prescriptive solution to that problem. So how do you take that concept and apply it to a community? It's by doing this, right? You know, hopefully you guys meet me and my crazy ideas, it rubs off on you, you go, Dan's not that smart, and he's done a few things, so I'm gonna start thinking that way. I can't start a company and not think $1 billion. I just can't. My friends wouldn't talk to me anymore, you know what I mean? Like, it's that level of, you know, just proximity in your peer network and whatever, and I feel like that's what we need more of. So it's either an accountability of the people that have done it to spend more time in the community at this level, you know, startup weekend events, etc., like getting out of their offices and talking to normal people and introducing themselves, because you need to know the people physically in person. Like, that's when things really get magical and change. So that is the problem, is Canadian is geographically challenged. Right? Canada, New Brunswick's horrible, we got 3 major cities, right? So we have Radiant 6 here, Clarity here, and another startup there, and we don't have enough proximity and density to have that effect. And Canada I think it's why we have so many great social media companies. I mean, do you guys ever realize that we have more social media companies per capita than any other country in the world? Think about it. How many social media monitoring, messaging, scheduling companies across Canada were there? Radiant 6, Hootsuite, what's the one in Toronto? There's so many. I think there's something in our culture that makes us, I think Facebook, Canada was one of the fastest adopting countries of Facebook. So all that to say that you need to get the people that think audaciously to spend more time with the ones that don't, and it rubs off. And that's the way to do it, and it's tough when we're geographically challenged. Thanks for the question, though.
Great answer. I'm Dave Brown, Planet BCG, and I don't know if I should be asking you this in front of so many people, but you just walked or marched into the US, settled in San Francisco. What'd you tell the guys at the border?
I mean, I wasn't getting paid, I was just on vacation. Like, my money was coming from Canada. Yeah, like, I think I was talking to another group before I came here, and somebody asked that, like, hey, I heard it's really hard to go in the States. I said, you know, how did you do it? I said, I bought a plane ticket. And I had to go across the world. Like, if you look at where Moncton, New Brunswick is in San Francisco, I can go to any other country in the world easier than I go to San Francisco. You guys can go for the day, right? So get on a plane and go. And, you know, I've told this to numerous entrepreneurs. Go there, start a company, spend some time there, and then if things get going, then you just solve the visa stuff. All that stuff can be solved with money, and trust me, if there's any place in the world that knows how to solve that problem, 80% of startups are from immigrant founders, so you know, you just need to get a company going and an idea. So I just say go. And it's easier today with things like Airbnb. Still think it's crazy in the beginning. Anyways, thanks for that question, David. Yeah.
Hi, Dan McDonald from
Good name. From PEI?
Maritime.
Holy shit, this is awesome. I don't meet many East Coasters, this is great.
I've tried to lose my accent as quickly as possible.
Don't, it's good.
Yeah, you mentioned like a lot of great pieces of advice, but what's the one thing that you wish you could have kind of given yourself at 20 years old when you were first starting out?
The number one skill, okay, and I didn't know the answer until a few months ago, honestly, because I've done almost 2,000 calls on Clarity, so I've talked to a lot of freaking. Those are the ones on Clarity, but I've been doing this, over lunches, and I realized the number one skill a founder needs to understand is how to tell a story. It sounds so simple and trivial, but there's a great quote that says, "He with the best story wins." And I believe that 100%, right? You can have two founders, same product, and one can tell a good story about why he started it, how the customers use it, and the other one can't. The guy with the better story wins. So if I can go back, I was spending time on operational efficiencies, productivity, and all this crap, when I should have been learning how to tell a better story, because that is fundraising, that is recruiting, that is marketing, and that unlocks everything else. If you think about like the Steve Jobs, etc., they knew how to tell a story, right? And it turns out there's actually a whole art and science to storytelling. It's quite interesting. So, I went down that rabbit hole, and continue to try to hone and perfect things. Because it is probably the secret weapon of great founders. Thanks for the question, Dan.
Hey, my name is James. I'm from a company called Medio. Uber is staging a really big fight in Vancouver right now. It's the number 218th city that they want to go after. Is Travis Kalanick the biggest instigator in tech today? And if not him, who?
Well, so I'll say a few things. My definition of instigator, I don't think he is, right? And I've known Travis for a long time. He was kind enough to part with his money, and he was a super, I mean, if anybody gets my advice about how to raise funding, I learned it from Travis. There's a reason why they've raised so much money. Put it this way, there is no founder in the world, pound for pound, that could do what Travis has done with Uber. Nobody. We think we have a hard time when we get sued for privacy stuff or somebody quits on us or whatever. I mean, he's getting, mafia level shit. Like, people don't want his stuff, right? And I don't know anybody that would go at it the way he has. He like him or not, regardless of the politics, he has really gotten punched in the forehead and kept moving forward when most of you guys would have given up, 100%. Everybody in this room would have given up, including myself. He is that amazing and relentless. Like, he taught me that. Like, he wrote a blog post called Fundraising Skills with a Z. That is the Bible of fundraising. I mean, he is one of the best. What was your question?
Is he the biggest instigator? Is he a terrorist?
No. No, he's not a terrorist. Is this like, are you on the press or something? Terrorist? No. I think that Uber is an amazing product that I can't believe you guys don't have yet, honestly.
But who's the bigger instigator? Who's the best instigator?
So the biggest instigator, and again, people that push and support. See, instigator in my world is a positive thing. I think most people think instigator is like, he's a troublemaker. I would say, yeah, terror. No, I wouldn't put Harrison. Instigator, no. In my world, one of the best people is Heaton Shaw from Kissmetrics. If anybody's had a chance to sit down with Heaton, he is so thoughtful, so giving of his time for what he's accomplished, and so sharp, and really supports and motivates people to think bigger and do more. And he's one of our formal advisors at Clarity, one of my good friends, and I can't think of anybody that does that better. Dave McClure would be on that list. Yeah. Don't put terrorist and instigator together. That's horrible. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ola. I'm founder of Many Novel, a medical startup. What are some of the big problems that need solving?
That's a good question. So here's, the big problems. I still think it's crazy that I need to go somewhere to cut my hair. Sounds world-shattering, but it needs to be solved, so please solve that problem. Yesterday I emailed my barber, I was like, how much to come? Because I had crazy hair yesterday. Luckily I found a solution. I guess the way I look at it is I solve problems that I have. Like, that's just, the way I look at it is even if I'm the only person that uses the product, at least my life is better. Like, if nobody else, everybody thinks this is the stupidest thing ever, at least my life, the way I wanted it to look and work, is better, right? Like, believe me, being in New Brunswick and moving away from all the amazing subsidized VC startups in San Francisco, like the food companies and the home joys and the cleaning, like, there is so much awesomeness in San Francisco that is not profitable and never will actually work, but the VCs pay for everybody's living. Like, I don't think people living there understand it. I've seen it. The amount of energy that I put just trying to recreate that, I wish people would solve those problems at a bigger scale. All that to say, the big problems that need to be solved is any friction that exists still. Payments, like, still, we go out for a meal and we want to split a bill. Like, it's kind of crazy that still works the way it does. So I'm bullish on, I joked around with my kids, but I've been involved in Bitcoin for 2 years. I think the whole the banks, this is videotaped, I'm not going to go there. I have a problem with banks. Okay, okay? I have a real problem with banks. I think they charge for stuff that they don't deserve to charge for. I think that they take advantage of people that are way less sophisticated than I am. So the whole banking financial industry deserves a kick in the whatever. So feel free to go after that problem. I think medical services is still so ridiculous. Like if you contrast payments in the financial world, isn't it crazy that we can travel the whole world and swipe a piece of plastic and it figures out who you are and your trustworthiness and transaction and takes your money and debits your account around the world. Yet we can't even go like one location in our city to another city and have them know who I am and what I just got done at this place without them faxing shit. Like 2014. Like I feel so, there's just education. Like my kids are not going to normal school. If you're a parent with kids in school, it's no judgment. I just think that the education system that was created was built on a 100-year-old idea, and the world doesn't look now like it did then. It didn't look 5 years ago the way it looks today, and it won't look that way in 20 years. And my kids are going to have a totally different education. There's a company called Alt School. Max, founder is Max, and Alt School is thinking about education. I think that needs to be solved. I think that my other big thing, and I know we're in an office of Mobify, but I think that physically working in the same space in the future will just be a thing of the past. I think that you know, in the future, work will just be different, where you kind of get up and you're a specialist and you've got a list of things you can do. We're seeing this already. This is not like, I'll tell it to you guys and be like, really, that's how it's going to work? Yeah, everybody's going to be a freelancer. By 2020, 50% of the workforce will be freelancers. You'll be rated on how you do it, and you will get tasks based on different corporations around the world giving you stuff to do based on your skill set. That's how it works on Odesk today. The reviews and reputation systems you're seeing, and that whole way we work today, physical offices and all that stuff, is gonna go through a huge transition. I mean, Slack just raised how much money? There's a reason why. Because they're allowing people in distributed teams to work in a collaborative fashion that is more efficient than physically being in the same room. So I think that problem needs to be solved. There's a lot of cool tools and services to support that. Again, these are all kind of problems I have that I've thought a lot about, and I hope founders solve them so I can invest in their companies. That's how it works. Anytime I have an idea, I go on AngelList, and I see if anybody's working on it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great, we're going to stop it there, but I want to thank you so much for coming out
Cool,
today.
thanks for having me.